ladies and gentlemen. This is a very special opportunity to join you and speak with you at this annual conference of the Institute of Cultural Diplomacy. I'm particularly grateful to Mark Dunfried and his team for inviting me and challenging me to reflect on the last 25 years of opportunity that has followed the fall of the Berlin Wall. I will do so as Vice-Chancellor of what I know as a growing, successful, vibrant, and above all, relevant global university. In the UK, Coventry University is ranked the best modern university for 2014-2015, and the Times newspaper has recognised us as being placed in the top 50 UK universities, which is not bad for an institution which only gained its university status in 1992, which of course is only a few years after the down of the Berlin Wall. Coventry University excels in its teaching. Virtually all of our students find real jobs in a very difficult job market. But we excel especially in our international role, with students from 143 countries undertaking their education within the walls that no longer truly exist of our university. And we have now placed at the centre of our activity our research and knowledge transfer, which in itself has a very global presence. I have chosen a title that reflects, I believe, the real challenge that the changes that accompanied the end of the so-called Cold War have brought. In many ways, low-cost international travel, the internet, and the globalization of the world's economies have encouraged us to think and talk about a world without walls. The powerful symbolism of that day in 1989, when the wall that held the East and West in separate worlds has brought down, pointed a new way, a new order that appeared to be much more joined up. I want to reflect, however, on a reality that is this new world order over the past 25 years, and the threats that were more around boundaries and separations that were put in place that perhaps we did not predict. And I want to reflect on how community-serving and progressive institutions, such as our universities, can play critical roles within our global village and be forces for peace and reconciliation. My university, Coventry, has grown up in this period, transforming from serving its local community to becoming truly a global provider of services. We have sought to immerse the university in the global village, with a multi-directional flow of students and staff. Coventry University students are recruited from the global market and seek, with our experience, many global partners to work with us. So let me consider my two main themes. Firstly, the impact of particular changes that followed the fall of the wall and the opening world that was expected following its events. And secondly, the role of global serving universities in helping us capture the benefits of a world without walls. Place is important. I am honoured to be here in Berlin, this world city of culture, politics, media and science. Its economy is based on high-tech firms and the service sector encompassing a diverse range of creative industries, research facilities, media corporations and convention venues. As such, it is a truly bigger version of my home city of Coventry. And I am pleased that there are so many parallels and similarities. Modern Berlin is home to renowned universities, orchestras, museums, entertainment venues, and is host to many sporting events. The city is well known for its festivals, diverse architecture, nightlife, contemporary arts, and a high quality of living. Over the last decade, Berlin has seen an upcoming cosmopolitan and entrepreneurial scene developing. Berlin describes a city without walls, not just because of its history. Some 15% of Berlin's people are from foreign nationality, originating from over 180 different countries. Another 500,000 citizens are descendants of international migrants and have either become naturalized German citizens or obtained citizenship by the virtue of birth in Germany. Over a quarter of its citizens are of foreign origin. Nearly 1/2 of Berlin's young generation, the under-18s, have foreign roots. Berlin has more than 25 non-Indigenous communities with a population of at least 10,000 people, including Turkish, Polish, Russian, Lebanese, Palestinian, Serbian, Italian, Bosnian, Vietnamese, American, Romanian, Bulgarian, Chinese, Austrian, Ghanaian, Ukrainian, French, British, Spanish, Israeli, Thai, Iranian, Egyptian, and Syrian communities. That makes it quite a global city. The most commonly spoken foreign languages in Berlin are Turkish, English, Russian, Arabic, Polish, Kurdish, Vietnamese, Serbian, Croatian, and French. Turkish, Arabic, Kurdish, Serbian, and Croatian are heard more often in the western parts due to the large Middle East and former Yugoslavian communities. English, Vietnamese, Russian, and Polish have more native speakers in the east. But truly, this is a cosmopolitan city where many people work together. Though the numbers here in Berlin are larger, this is almost a description of Coventry, both the city and the university. Our world without walls was created hugely diverse communities amongst us. And these are only fixed for a moment in time, and over time things change. Both the city of Coventry and Coventry University are products of the opening of the world following the Berlin Wall coming down. Highly diverse and eclectic communities in exciting ways. In one small neighbourhood near our own campus in Coventry Hillfields, you will find in excess of 120 first languages being spoken. Continuous change and growing diversity are consequences of our world without walls. Coventry and its iconic cathedral ruins are an enduring and potential international symbols for peace and reconciliation. And this experience has also served to reduce barriers between communities worldwide. Though in this case it was because the walls of the cathedral were actually left standing. On the 14th of November 1940, during a bombing raid, much of the city of Coventry was destroyed in a 10-hour blitz that killed or injured hundreds of residents, reduced the centre of the city to rubble, and left just the walls of this beautiful medieval cathedral standing. Coventry's response was to seek healing and reconciliation. The words, "Father, forgive," were inscribed on the walls of the ruins. The ruins were preserved as they have stood. 6 weeks later, at Christmas 1940, Provost Howard called for prayers for Germany and post-war reconciliation. These were brave acts in a time of dangerous activities. One of the local priests took 3 nails that had fallen from the roof and fashioned them into a cross, 1 vertical and 2 horizontal. This was to become the symbol of Coventry and its reconciliation ministry from that moment on. The message of reconciliation spread far and wide, and many of these crosses were given to places involved in reconciliation around the world. Over the years, Coventry has formed links with others around the world that have suffered during times of war, such as Belgrade, Dresden, Hiroshima, Sarajevo, Volgograd, and Warsaw. With 26 twin cities, we have the largest network of twin cities around this particular topic. And today, the work of peace continues quite significantly. Coventry University runs the Centre for Trust, Peace and Social Relationship Studies. And the city hosts annual events such as the Coventry Peace Prize, Peace Month, and Holocaust Memorial Day. In recent years, the business community, higher and further education, and other important city organisations have endorsed peace and reconciliation as a critical element of developing a successful 21st century city. Earlier this year, to celebrate the UN World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development, the UN High Representative for the Alliance of Civilizations visited Coventry and gave a lecture with city representatives. He was supportive of our ambition to become a peace centre for the world. We are proud and energised, and that we are seen as a role model for the city that has moved on, and equally proud of our cathedral that many see as an icon for peace and reconciliation. Yet we intend to use our influence beyond faith and wider than post-conflict and post-conflict resolution. This is also an age where we have seen more people on the move than we've ever seen before. This is a time when more people are now engaged in moving around the globe and actually engaging in the development of new communities. And this has had a significant impact on community-facing universities. Over the period since the fall of the wall, communities in Europe were changing rapidly. They were both broadening, internationalising at pace, and deepening, becoming more complex as ethnically and language diverse communities became even more the norm, and where diasporas clung on to their origins in new ways. New migrants both set up home and continued to relate back to their heritage and roots culturally and geographically. For my university, the changed context was even more marked than the average. Coventry, as a place, was undergoing significant social and economic change. The manufacturing and engineering foundations of the local economy were being transformed. And as there were for many others in other places in Western Europe, the rising powers of production had emerged elsewhere. As a polytechnic up until 1992, my university had always had a close and supportive and interdependent relationship with local employers, and a focus on applied research and the development of employment-facing skills. But throughout the 1990s, in the decade following the end of the so-called Cold War and the period of temporary walls and divides that had been characterized by the post-World War II period, changes in the global economy and in local labour markets created significant threats as well as opportunities. So in many ways, the 25 years since the visible and tangible changes described by the fall of the Berlin Wall, the coming together of the two Germanys, and the eventual emergence of a 28-member European Union of Nations frames a transformative period for many organisations, and very much so for universities, which look beyond their own walls to the needs and resources outside of their typical domains. I will talk a little later about the important role that leading universities must play in the 21st century, and in particular the quite distinctive role that I believe we have in helping us all to make sense of the open yet divided world in which we still live. People are what make a world. So first, let me have a quickly look at how demographic change since the fall of the wall has transformed our landscape. Recall that in the late 1980s, early 1990s, we were essentially a local university, serving strongly a local population and a local economy. At the end of the 1980s, the beginning of the 1990s, migration between European countries and the UK ran annually into the tens of thousands in each direction. Almost as many came to the UK as left. This has changed dramatically when the wall came down. The UK began to measure new immigrants, foreign-born who arrived in the UK after 1989, and saw we were beginnings of a distinctive post-Cold War migrations from East to Western Europe. From around the world, the same time the UK had also began experiencing an increase in net immigration, a rise in asylum migration and diversification in immigrant inflows, with immigrants increasingly coming from countries outside of the EU and the Commonwealth. The removal of the barrier of the Berlin Wall triggered changes in all of the countries of the then West, leading to substantial out-migration, including migration to the UK. These changes were most dramatic in Albania, as we have heard, leading to mass exodus from the country, which by 2001 had led to 1/6, possibly even 1/5 of the country's population living abroad. People initially left by sea to Italy and over the mountains to Greece. But over time, increasingly numbers started to move to other European destinations, including the UK. By the end of the last year, there was an estimated 1,077,000 EU8 born residents in the UK, an increase of 63,000 from the year ending in December 2012. Net migration nearly quadrupled from 48,000 in 1997 to 185,000 in 2003. Once the Eastern Europeans had been granted free movement in 2004, it peaked at 320,000 moving to the UK in the year ending 2005. Net foreign migration between 1997 and 2010 totaled nearly 4 million, 2/3 of it non-EU. This was indeed a new world created by the redefinition and removal of borders. Eastern European immigration into the UK has accounted for about 1/3 of the net foreign migration since 2004. It was not just the wider Europe on the move, I haven't time to map these today, but movements of people generally have meant significant and many millions of citizens following their aspirations and looking for safety and solitude. I want to conclude with some observations about the role of a global serving university in helping us capture the benefits of a world without walls. But first, let me pause to share with you a live example of how Coventry University students and staff are not constrained by borders as barriers. This weekend, and here in Berlin, as we are seeing, 2014 is a big year in the history of the city. It is the 25 years since the fall of the Berlin Wall, 65 since the division into East and West. Students and staff from Coventry University Performing Arts will be engaging with the historic anniversary through performances, placements and study trips in conjunction with our local partners. And as I suggested, some of this is happening just this weekend. One part will be a performance by a staff ensemble at the Museum of Youth Opposition on November the 9th today to commemorate the anniversary of the fall of the wall. The ensemble will produce a durational music performance of over 24 hours, creating a wall of sound using a massed ensemble of steel cellos and bow chimes. The public will be invited to blow the musical sculptures, to recite stories, and to show memorabilia of pre-Berlin Wall activity. In addition, there are residencies. Coventry University Performing Arts have teamed up with the Berlin Contemporary Arts and Performance Space to offer recent graduates from our university the opportunity to stay in Berlin to research and produce artistic works and performance for a period of 2 months. So as you can see, we're now in a period where actually there is a huge amount of transition of staff and students and people around the world. Our own university is playing its part by enabling our students to travel on overseas placements, undertake parts and times of study. We also welcome many students to our university from many parts of the world to also benefit from the fact that we are now much more a global organisation. We are very proud as a university that our programmes reach out in this way and provide the opportunities for our students and citizens of the future and staff alike to take personal benefit from a world which has fewer walls. I believe that the changes to which I referred, the diversity of our communities and the access that we have through the movement of people, create new and real demands for 21st century universities, and demand above all else that will release an update in terms of our methods and our approaches for teaching students in the future. So, in my final section, I want to focus on how universities must adapt in a world without walls. Let me set out what I believe to be our broad expectations of our universities before suggesting how Coventry University is stepping up to the challenge. I share the view that we should expect our universities to provide important national and regional links into the global knowledge economy, exchange knowledge and gather intelligence. We should facilitate international flows of highly skilled people, become important actors in regional and global networks, help lead the design and delivery of economic development strategies. However, few universities can excel in all 5 roles. They are themselves members of a diverse, eclectic, and global community of learning. Each must choose where to concentrate its efforts depending on its strengths and regional requirements. And each should energetically interact with the wider economy and society and ensure that research and exploration encourages innovation at a global scale. The world's increasing need to innovate to meet the economic and social challenges of the 21st century, that is more than just a world without walls, will place further pressure on these roles. Our open world remains fraught with barriers, with inequalities, with differential access to opportunities. We see this many times in our daily operations. Interesting, where universities are generally very good at analysing and assessing performance in a huge range of contexts and organisations, they have been less inclined to turn this spotlight on themselves. Firstly, I believe that in a world without walls, our starting point must be for universities to think most carefully about their own walls, the relationships they have or do not have with their communities, both local and global, and the barriers that exist in their sometimes exclusive domains. Coventry University has been for some time now on a serious journey with this challenge in mind. And this has evolved into a direct challenge to our thinking about how universities should fit into the world of the 21st century. Secondly, universities need to be part of communities, be they local cities or global communities, rather than detached or in our sanctuaries of learning. Coventry University places collaboration first and seeks to be a node in networks rather than just a producer of knowledge. By applying research and development to our own work, we help innovate our teaching and learning methods and even help generate new organisations of knowledge and disciplines. Our research centres are not confined by traditional discipline walls, but draw in traditions of thinking and exploration more appropriate to applied, multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary research contexts, which we continually review. Thirdly, in a world without walls, the linear becomes a network, and universities must become connectors. At Coventry University, we now look to measure success by what our collaborators achieve as a result of working in partnership with us. And we promote the impact of our work on non-academic stakeholders. Finally, in this new era, universities must be welcoming to change and to a fast pace of change rather than resisting. At Coventry, we take risks and we make mistakes, not too many and not too large. Both consequences of a commitment to innovation and change that is required on a global scale. Above all, we seek to accelerate other people's ideas and ambitions. Our global partnerships are quite distinctive as a result, from innovative joint ventures in Turkey to joint postgraduate programs in China to world-leading training strategies with large private sector organisations such as Unipart. I referred earlier to the role and work of both the City of Coventry and Coventry University in peace building and in reconciliation of differences. These are an integral part of the same role. In a 21st century characterised by openness and division, we want to be collaborating and working together as a norm across geographical and cultural boundaries. I believe that the way we have chosen to work has been an important content of the work that we are doing as we continue to work as a global serving university. Thank you very much.